Now realistically, you clicked on this video only thinking one thing. What the f***? And that's fair. This is either going to be my best or worst idea, and it all really depends on the execution. After having just recently finished The Boys, I'm bored, and need something to fill the void between waiting for GEN V and LOKI Season 2 episodes to drop. If you're a fan of Dragon Ball but haven't seen The Boys, all you really need to know about Homelander is that he has some serious issues. Alternatively, if you're a fan of The Boys but haven't seen Dragon Ball, you might want to click off this video, because we are going to be following the story of Dragon Ball. And, of course, this is an obvious spoiler warning for both series. With all of that out of the way, let's get into the story of this What If. On planet Vegeta, two Saiyan parents stare into a space pod, looking at their child who they are sending off the planet, sending him to a place they hope he'll be able to grow and prosper, outside the rule of the tyrant that has enslaved their race, well, for as long as any of them can remember. With a deep breath and a heavy heart, they close the door of the pod as it prepares to shoot off. The father would press his hand against the glass, and the baby would do the same, but opposite to his father's. Little did Bardock and Guinea know, they would only be trading one tyrant for another in their child's life. After leaving the planet's orbit, he'd be sent billions of miles away, landing on the Earth, starting his new life as the rest of his race loses theirs. The space pod would have landed in someone's front yard, but not just anyone, the richest man on the planet. Immediately, several high-security officers would rush to the pod, aiming their guns at it as the door opened. Once it's revealed to be a baby, they aren't sure what to do, until the man himself steps outside to handle it, Dr. Briefs. He would say that, seeing as it landed on his yard, he should be the one to raise the child, and he would portray it to the press as a kind-hearted move. In all reality, he only wanted the child because he was an alien, and there was a lot of potential there. Although Kakarot, or Goku to keep it simple, would be studied extensively by the doctor, he seemed more fascinated by the space pod the boy arrived in. He begins to reverse engineer it, and develops extremely advanced tech, surpassing even the Frieza forces by miles. Dr. Briefs isn't the kind to make weapons, however, so instead he makes drones to traverse the stars and AI to help with everyday life. As Goku grows older, Dr. Briefs will create devices and training areas for Goku to get stronger. Strangely, Briefs seemed to force his adoptive son into the training. Of course, Goku enjoyed it from time to time, but he didn't really have a choice in when, how, or why he did it. Realizing the incredible potential of the young alien, Briefs wished to use Goku to force his will on others. And what would be the point if the Saiyan wasn't as strong as possible? By the way, Bulma would never be born here. Dr. Briefs wouldn't be the type to have kids just to have kids here. He's our Stan Edgar. He only has adoptive kids with powers that help him to achieve his goals. By age 16, our Saiyan protag would reach a power level of a staggering 1,000. Not high at all for a Saiyan, but for Earthlings, oh boy, yeah, that's pretty high. By this time, though, someone would have gathered the Dragon Balls, but it's not the Briefs family. Instead, Emperor Pilaf. Now, if you're thinking Pilaf is going to use these wish orbs to wish to rule the world, you're pretty close, but a little off. That wish would be made, but not by Pilaf. Rather, the people who took the orbs from him, the Red Ribbon Army. Commander Red would plan to use the wish to become taller, but once Commander Black discovers this, he steals the Dragon Balls for the army. Then, when Shenron is summoned, his powers would be used to give the Red Ribbon Army complete control over the Earth and its governments. When the armies begin marching into cities and asserting their dominance, Dr. Briefs would send Goku out to handle things. He'd be wearing a blue superhero-like suit with the Capsule Corp logo on his chest. Within only a few hours, Goku would have killed each and every soldier for the Red Ribbon, using his incredible power as well as burning ki beams through his eyes to cut down men left and right. When the one-man war is over, the press approaches Goku, with paparazzi swarming around him. At first, he feels uncomfortable, unused to this kind of attention, but then he grows more used to it. He starts enjoying it. He'd laugh and smile from ear to ear while they ask him questions he would answer, making himself look humble and pure. In all reality, he only answered that way to make them keep praising him. He really didn't care about having saved any of them from enslavement or death. The truth is, if he didn't think fighting the army would provide him a challenge, he wouldn't have done it, and wouldn't have cared for the lives lost. As the years passed, Goku would protect the Earth from many more threats, like when the Pilaf gang, who would have survived by the way, releases King Piccolo and Goku is forced to deal with him. Although the Namekian was strong, especially after regaining his youth, Goku was still far superior, and killed him with ease. He would take on all sorts of opponents, not just trying to find a challenge, but also so he could appear as the hero at every turn. Dr. Briefs would be using this opportunity to snake his way into the world government, taking over the world's military first. Now having full control over the two largest fighting forces on the planet, the world's army and Goku, Dr. Briefs would lead a coup against the King of the Earth. It wouldn't be hard to overthrow him. The man was literally a furry, and with the world at his fingertips, Dr. Briefs is finally content with his place in the world, ruling above it. That is until Raditz shows up. With the arrival of a being more powerful than even Goku, King Briefs is terrified. Everything he had been working for, all those years of hard work, are now in jeopardy. Over the years, Goku had become complacent with his power. He was the strongest thing out there in his mind, so why A-Train? He never studied under Master Roshi, never learned any of those lessons, so he saw no need to keep growing. Now, even if he didn't A-Train, that doesn't mean he didn't get stronger. Remember, Goku would still be going out and fighting the occasional monster or criminal to boost his popularity. He wasn't just sitting on his butt the whole time. There were still dinosaurs and devilmen that just existed out there, and would push the Saiyan, if only a little. This allowed him to grow to a power level of 1,200, rather than just 1k. Raditz has a lead of 50, but in the grand scheme of things, that isn't a whole lot. So when the two Saiyans meet, it isn't obvious who'd win if they fought. Now, there is one thing I've purposely left vague, and that's the position of Piccolo Jr. It's possible that he just wouldn't be born here because Goku kills off King Piccolo with ease, but I doubt it. Goku would want to draw the fight out with the Demon King as much as possible, and make it last as long as possible, to make for a better show, as well as give him a better fight. Not only would King Piccolo have the opportunity to spit out an egg, he'd have multiple, and I feel like he'd actually spawn multiple children when he realizes the gap in power between him and his opponent. One, of course, being Piccolo Jr., but the other two as well, Lord Slug and Skull. The first of these two new children would of course be Lord Slug from the movies, but the second is entirely fan-made and would look similar to Nail. The three would never actually try and get revenge on Goku, at least not right away, because they knew he was too strong. But now maybe they can. They watch as the two brothers talk and prepare to jump in when/if a fight breaks out. And pray it does, because all hope goes out the window if they team up. Raditz wants Kakarot to leave with him, but of course Goku quite likes his life on Earth, and although he doesn't care for the lives of humans, he does refuse to kill them. This of course leads to a battle between the two, which is somewhat even. Although the strength difference is small, this is the first time Goku has ever fought someone with the same power level as him, let alone higher. When the Namekians jump in, it gives Raditz a major lead over his brother. although he doesn't really like how the Namekians got involved. Now it isn't a fair fight, and thus his pride is wounded, but he doesn't really care too much for pride anyway. That was more of a Vegeta thing. Within only a few minutes of fighting, Goku would be majorly overwhelmed and beaten to death. Thus, Piccolo, Slug, and Skull got their so-longed-for revenge. Although Raditz is a bit pissed that his brother was killed by someone other than himself. He isn't too mad though, and would even offer the Namekians to go with him in Kakarot's place. They would gladly leave with him, and even pay the 100 bodies price each. And even if they aren't too strong, Raditz is glad to have 3 new recruits. Speaking of their power though, I'd probably place them each at power levels around 400, so together they could have matched Goku. Although they plan to leave together, there is still the problem that they only really have 1 space pod. I'm not sure how Raditz planned to get around this originally, but here we'll say that King Briefs gives them a ship, wanting them off the planet ASAP. Now, without his greatest weapon and having been shown to be overpowered, the king would worry for the safety of his rule. He'd know that he needs to get Goku back lest an uprising start, so he uses the dragonballz, which he'd had already gathered without anyone knowing, to revive Goku. He'd save them for a situation like this, and after summoning Shinron, his champion would be returned to him. Now, back alive, Goku, well, he's very, very upset. Not only was he overpowered, but he was killed. He needs to get stronger. He needs more power. At first, he would begin training, and within just 1 year, his power would skyrocket to 10,000, thanks to the training areas Briefs prepares for him. This 10 times boost is of course a lot, but Goku wants more. He never wants to be put on the back foot by anyone ever again. So when the Dragon Balls reactivate, he would use them once more, but this time to give himself eternal life, rather than a new one. Goku wouldn't want to ever be killed again. It was humiliating and degrading, so he uses the Wish Orbs to make sure it never happens again. But out in deep space, our merry band of Saiyans is trying to gain the same wish for themselves, as well as the tyrant that Goku's parents had saved him from oh so many years ago.